In today's video, we're going to go through my Nintendo 64 collection so far. We'll be opening some packages with some new games in. And lastly, we're going to look at my most expensive Nintendo 64 game. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. So I thought after a year and a half of doing videos on YouTube, I'd finally get in front of the camera just to show you guys who I am. I won't be getting on the camera very often, but every now and then I might pop up just to do a bit of talking. Thought I'd try something new. Anyway guys, thanks for watching so far. Let's get straight into the video. Right, so first of all we're going to open the packages that we've got. So we've got 3 new games here. So I didn't cover my address very well, so I've had to put a little cover spot over the address. I have to say this is the weirdest packaging I've come across. They've used like kitchen roll to wrap up the game, so there's no protection in any of this. Take your guess what the first game's going to be. And it is Body Harvest. So I've never played this game before, so it'd be quite interesting to give it a go. So because I've bought all these recently, I'm checking to make sure that they are real, because that is my biggest fear of collecting the full Nintendo 64 collection, is that I'm going to pick up a fake somewhere. So I know all the little things to look out for. So that one looked absolutely fine. Next one, quite a small title, FIFA 98. There are quite a few FIFA games on the Nintendo 64. As usual, just check the back. I doubt that they would try and fake these games just because they're quite cheap anyway. There would be no money in it, but it would be more than more expensive titles that they would try and duplicate. And for the last game, what we've got is cardboard. No, I'm joking. Instead of tissue paper, they thought they'd go with cardboard on this one. So the next one is a Pokemon title, Pokemon Snap. So I've never played this, but I've seen quite a few videos of the actual gameplay and it looks quite cool. So it's one I'll definitely be giving a quick go before I put it away into the collection. But again, just checking the back, everything looks authentic. Just a couple of little things to look out for. But yeah, so Pokemon. Right, so let's start with the console. So I have the original black Nintendo 64. I am planning on getting some others, but you have to start with the good old original because it's the one I had as a kid. And I also have the original grey controller. So the one thing I just want to quickly point out is I've got this awesome stand that I picked up. I think it's from Etsy or whatever it is. They make a lot of 3D printed items for like game collectors, and I just love how this looks. So if you've seen my collection, you'll see how that looks in the cupboard, and I just think it's really cool. I would recommend getting that if you were to have a collection on display. So I'll jump into the game holders. So what we've got here is another 3D printed game cartridge holder. I love how it shows all the titles, so they all stand above each other. You can get a lot that just line up. So, but I really wanted one that you can see all of them. I probably won't be buying any more of these. It is just for the cupboard, so I'm going to put my favourite titles in the cupboard next to the console, either side, and the rest of it will go on display somewhere else. Just a quick thing, these aren't my favourite titles, these are just what I kind of started with. But yeah, I think they look awesome. You can get better ones. I have only got Nintendo and white at the bottom, but you can get multicoloured ones or colours that match the Nintendo 64, so go give them a look out. Brings me on to my first coloured controller. I've got a red one. I do want to get all of the basics at least. I think there's yellow and green and some others. So I'm going to get all the colours. And I'll show you a quick accessory that I've got from the Nintendo 64, which I absolutely love. So I believe this is called the Nintendo 64 Game Boy Transfer Pack. So this allows you to transfer data between the Game Boy cartridge and the Nintendo 64. So this worked with the game Pokemon Stadium. So if you remember on the Game Boy, you had the Pokemon games. You had red, yellow and blue. So the Pokemon you picked up in the game on the Game Boy, you could obviously select their moves and get them up to a certain level. Well, you could plug it into the back of the Nintendo 64 controller, put in Pokemon Stadium in the Nintendo 64, and then you could transfer the Pokemon that you built up in the Game Boy game and move them over into the Nintendo 64 game and use them to battle with. which I thought was really cool back in the day. Like, I thought it was absolutely awesome because it meant like the hard work you put into the Game Boy game, you could actually see it on the Nintendo 64. So I'll move on from this. So we'll go on to the boxed Nintendo 64 games that I've got. I do not have a lot because I am not trying to collect the boxes, just because it is way too much money to waste. So I picked these up off eBay. It was in a bundle. I think it was 3 of them, and it was all really cheap. And I thought, why not? Just be quite cool just to pick up some, just have a quick look at. I love the Nintendo 64 box artwork. Can't complain with it. I think they're awesome, and because they're getting rarer as time goes on, and because it's made of cardboard and no one used to look after it back in the day, it would be awesome to have a full collection. But it's just too much money. This is just a hobby of mine, collecting video games, so I am only just putting little bits of money in here and there. So me setting off on this journey of trying to collect every Nintendo 64 game, I did get from another YouTuber, which I did a special on. So you can go have a look at that. So he's got every single Nintendo 64 game in the PAL library, boxed, complete in box, and in somewhat perfect condition. And I just thought it was really cool, and because of the low number of games on the Nintendo 64, I've decided to go after them as well. Right, so we move on to my most expensive Nintendo 64 game to date. It's not extremely rare or anything like that, it's just the most that I've paid for a Nintendo 64 game. I know that this isn't the most expensive one for the PAL collection, but it's still one that I'm looking after because of the price tag on it. So it's Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, this set me back about £100 on eBay, just for an old cartridge. So what I was looking for is the things you want to look out for to make sure that they're real is in the Nintendo carved in the back there on the eye. If the dot above the eye is a circle, then it's fake. They should all be square, and a lot of the fakes are circular. So that's one thing to look out for. So we'll move on to the rest of my games then. So because I'm going for a full Nintendo 64 PAL library, I've got this little print off online which I found, just shows you every title in this collection. So I'm just, as I go along, ticking the boxes just so that I don't buy any doubles. I do have 3 doubles at the moment, but that wasn't intentional, so I thought we'll get a little list together so that we can follow it. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly fly through my games just so you can see what I've got. Yoshi's Story, Castlevania, FIFA 68, Nuclear Strike, Mission Impossible, Starshot, Mario 3, another expensive title, and Mario Golf. We've got Glover, and then South Park, Extreme G, Zelda, Superstar Soccer 64, Top Gear Rally, Tonic, Perfect Dark, All-Star Baseball, Rush, then on to Rugrats, Super Smash Bros, love that game, Command & Conquer, Destruction Derby 64, Buster Move 3, Duke Nukem, another Zelda game, Hardcore ECW v Rally, MRC, and then some pool game. So there you go guys, my Nintendo 64 collection so far. So I've got a really long way still to go, but I just thought I'd bring you up to speed on what I have. It is one of my favourite consoles in my collection because I had it as a kid and I just remember spending hours on it. And I just remember spending absolute hours on it as a family as well, because it was like a family orientated console. Unlike the PlayStation, it was more solo player. There was so many more multiplayer games on the Nintendo 64 that I remember anyway. And I just want to say thanks for watching guys. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment on your favourite Nintendo 64 game or memory, and tune in for the next video.